it is United. Despite the fact they only had 29% of the possession who go through to the quarter-finals, once again, PSG seem to find another way to shoot themselves in the foot when it comes to the Champions League.
Wow.
We were surprised last night.
2 nights in a row.
Sat here after Ajax did what they did to Real Madrid. There's a big argument, isn't there, to say this is even a bigger shock, considering not only were PSG such big favourites going into this with a 2-0 lead, but Manchester United, it was a reserve team almost.
It was a reserve team, and it was depleted, and it was demolished at Old Trafford by this PSG side when it had pretty much a full-strength team. But thinking about this, how we're going to approach it, if last night I mentioned arrogance for Real Madrid, this is European football's greatest bottlers. They're the biggest bottle job of Europe's elite. Because, and you mentioned it, they find a way to shoot themselves in the foot. They had the possession, they had the players, but they didn't have on tonight, they didn't have the know-how, the final quality, and the bottle to see it out. And Tuchel is just another coach that is going to have to take responsibility for one of the biggest shambles that this club probably has seen for a while, with the billions that they've spent.
I know, and the thing is, they've set the standard quite high when it comes to shambles in this competition, in that they are just serial chokers, it's seen. You take it back, of course, to Barcelona a couple of years ago, that 4-goal difference that they just threw away. Once again, they are knocked out in the round of 16. This is embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we thought the Barcelona result would never be topped. But this has to top it, just because it's Manchester United's reserve team. And you look at it and you think, well, where does the blame lie? And the truth is, it lies 50% with the players on the field and 50% with Tuchel.
Right.
You know, the first two goals are shocking. Kehrer is nervous and plays a horrible back pass. The second goal, why are you playing your second-string goalkeeper in the round of 16 in the Champions League? And it's just being too clever. Trying to be too nice. The best managers in the world would cut your throat as soon as they look at you, if needed. And Tommy Tuchel tonight has cost PSG with that one decision. One decision. You play your top goalie, and that doesn't happen.
See, now I'm questioning whether the Buffon signing was Tommy Tuchel or this was PSG hierarchy wanting to bring in a big-name goalkeeper in a department that they feel they've struggled. Yet they bring in, albeit at his best, one of the best that the game has ever seen, but at the wrong side of his career. And now, as you mentioned, Steve, you've got Buffon and Areola who split the league games down the middle half. You've got Buffon coming in to a high-pressure situation, and not adding anything to this team, and on the face of it, as we sit now, actually taking away from PSG. How did Buffon improve PSG of last season is simply beyond me.
Generous markings as well.
By the way,
you have to say, how Verratti and Bernat get a 7, considering the PSG just lost at home.
And by the way, there's another bottle job, Di Maria, right? Swans around League On, didn't have the stomach for the Man United gig in the Premier League because Man United were struggling at the time. And as a big player, when you go to a club and the club's struggling, you got to roll your sleeves up even more and show your quality. And he couldn't wait to get out of there. And he goes to League On and he's swanning around and showing off the talent that they know he's got. They're 17 points clear with a game in hand, so effectively 20. But when him and his mates are wanted on the real big occasion against a poor United side on the night, they couldn't do it. I mean, I don't know where else to go with this, but the fact is, why the hell are they writing cheques anymore for this club? Mm-hmm. For what? To win League On? There's no sign in winning this Champions League. No sign whatsoever.
Do you think we got duped because they were so good against Manchester United at Old Trafford? Did we get duped? Because you look at that team and you take Mbappe out of it, where's the flair? You know, Draxler's not fantastic. Di Maria's a bottler, as Craig said. You got Bernat, who's a fullback. Your two midfielders, Marquinhos and Verratti, are better going the other way. They're not guys you want in the edge of the box, try to play little balls in behind or be clever. So where's actually the flair? I think we might have got duped with this team.
Not only the flair, Stevie, but where's the personalities? Where's the leadership in this side? Oh, okay, Mbappe's not having his best day ever, yet still, he's the only one who seems to be shouting around to the rest of the team, let's keep calm, let's keep our heads about us, because all you needed was somebody with a little bit of leadership, a little bit of respect, and a little bit of voice. Because at 2-1, they're going through. At 2-1, you put it down to this being a bad day, but somehow we get into the next round and we fix it. Yet still, they can't do that. And I'm not putting all the blame on Kimpembe's doorstep here. Ultimately, he's the one who conceded the penalty. But again, you look at that dressing room, devoid of real leadership. Neymar is not a leader. We need somebody who can stand up and be counted when the team isn't playing well. PSG don't have that.
I can have no complaints about Kimpembe. Do you think?
No. That's the thing. There is a big debate going on, certainly.
Where?
Some pundits back in the UK are saying that it's not a penalty. We
It's
played
a
Peter
penalty.
Walton.
I tell you what, half
90%
back in the UK haven't got a Scooby. They just play along. I mean, let's be honest. It should be it's a penalty alone with the arm coming out for turning your back. It's cowards. You don't.
Yeah.
As a kid, right? You got to. Whether it hits you in the face or the chest or somewhere a bit more painful, whatever it is, you've got to take it. There's nothing in the laws of the game that says you should be raising your hand to protect yourself from a ball that's going to hit you. And certainly not when you're turning your back completely on that ball. So there's no complaints there. The fact that VAR alerted the referee to that, because it might have been difficult to see at full speed, and then he went over, and fair play, he took his time, because it was a huge call at a huge time, but he absolutely got it right. But what about the other scenario for Tuchel here? And I'm not absolving him of blame here. You've got an argument between the club and the sporting director about whether Rabiot can play or not over the last few weeks, and the outcome is he can't. Right, a multi-talented midfield player who gets you goals, can win tackles, and is certainly better in there than the players that they've got, certainly Marquinhos, because he's a defender. But because he wants to leave PSG, as if it's the only club that exists in European football, they've spat their dummy out. Now, I'm not saying that's the difference, but attitudes like that are not going to help managers or help teams when you've got injuries, and they have had injuries in key positions like the centre of the park.
So just to go back to the handball for a minute, if me as a goalkeeper, I'm approaching a striker who's coming at me, I leave my hands out wide, intentionally, because I want to make my body bigger, I want to make it more difficult for the striker to score. But I'm allowed to use my hands. So now if Kimpembe is
Why didn't you?
Well, I should have thought of that before. So now if Kimpembe knows a shot is coming in, and he starts with his hands out wide, as a goalkeeper would, and it strikes his arm, he can have no complaint when the referee points to the spot. Don't faint in a sense at this point for me, because this is what I should have practiced to do when I was playing, yet still now you're doing it at this level as a defender, and somehow you feel aggrieved when the referee points to the spot? No, it's a penalty all day, every day.
As soon as you turn your back, you lose control. So he has no excuse. If he stays solid, he's a good 5 yards away from the strike. If you stay solid and you keep your hands by your side and you're in control of what's coming, regardless of whether it's going to hit you in the face or not, you're in control. As soon as you turn around and take your eyes off the ball, you turn your body, you lose control. And it hits his arm. It's a penalty kick.
Solskjaer,
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's just remind you of the players that weren't available. Paul Pogba was suspended, and a whole list of injuries as well.
Key players.
We were looking at the bench, and there were players that...
Well, look at it. Pogba, rejuvenated.
Never heard of.
Pogba, rejuvenated. Darmian, squad player. Herrera, rejuvenated under Solskjaer. Lingard, rejuvenated. Martial, the same. Matic, the same. And I'll add a caveat to that. They lost Eric Bailly in, 30-odd minutes? So there's another
Which was a bonus because he was having a shocker.
Well, it might have helped because they changed shape and they went back to your back four. But he has another injury to add to that. I mean, to get...
it's a bunch of kids at the end.
Yeah.
So how much credit do you give Solskjaer for this?
Well,
listen, you've got to give him credit because they were organised. I think, the credit for me, as much as anything, belongs to Rashford and Lukaku. I mean, the work they did tonight, both sides of the ball, was incredible. I mean, they were sharp enough. Normally when you're doing that much work defensively, it takes away from what you do going forward, takes that edge, that sharpness away. But for the 90 minutes, they were on their toes, just waiting for any little mistake, which made it harder for PSG. But really, PSG, at the end of the game, were playing against a bunch of kids, and they didn't have the composure of the leadership or any normal things that you associate with a real football team to keep the ball and kill the game. They got outdone by a bunch of kids. Never mind just the starting lot that were the reserves. They finished up getting done by kids.
We were looking at the bench, and probably the only name we really recognised was Rojo that Solskjaer could call on. But to Stevie's point about Rashford and Lukaku, again, I thought it was outstanding. I'd like to give Solskjaer credit. One, playing two up front. Okay, you have to go and you have to go and win the game. So maybe you understand that. But you tell Lukaku go and play right on his shoulder of your centre half, which is what brought the first goal, and then the second goal. I feel that if you're not enjoying a whole lot of possession of the ball, when you do get it, you don't take a shot from 25 yards unless the manager tells you, put this keeper under pressure.
Right.
He used to be great, but put him under pressure. And that's exactly what Rashford did. Right? He had no reason other than somebody saying to him, take Buffon on to try that shot when he did. Buffon made a mess of it, and Lukaku following in again. I think, as we sit here, I believe those are messages that came from the manager. I'm giving Solskjaer full credit for that.
It's not Solskjaer's fault that PSG made a pig's ear of it.
That's the thing.
You know what I mean?
It's want to credit Solskjaer and United. This is about PSG.
It is about PSG's mistakes, but he's gone in there with, young McTominay, who's not got much experience, with Fred in the middle of the park, who's been hopeless. So it's a complete reshuffle. And so he needed those things to go his way. But he also, as Stevie said, he needed people to be on their toes.
Right.
On their toes defensively and on their toes for getting some scraps. Now, over the years, you probably can't legislate for that from Buffon. From young Kehrer, it's an experience thing from him. He's made a poor decision. Then United have hung in. But I tell you, honestly, I can't tell you how much credit I would give to Rashford for the penalty kick. Because we've seen... we've seen the message this world.
And there was a lot of tomfoolery beforehand. Bernat was messing around. The referee was being it
was a brilliant, and that sounds simplistic. Because somebody tweeted to me the other day, players should get paid millions, they should just score penalties. Yeah. It's not that simple, and particularly when the pressure's on, and boy was it on there. And I thought it was absolutely great composure from the young man.
But they did have the opportunity to kill the game, PSG. And the guy that you absolutely want going through on the goalkeeper, one-on-one. I don't think it was one of us thought anything else was going to happen other than the ball was going in the back of the net. And he slips and falls.
How does Tuchel
changes it?
I mean, who was it? It was Unai Emery, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was a hard sell to the boardroom.
Yeah.
What's he going to say? I need a complete revamp again? How's he going to sell this?